add someone to the Bud list that is Wild's favorite player these days. I'm adding Russell Wilson to the Bud list, and here's why. Here's why. I'm going to argue that this is probably the most meaningful game he's played in the last 4 years. Okay, coming up. The other thing is, the Steelers have not beaten the Eagles in Philadelphia since 1965.
Wow.
60 years. And in those games where they played in Philadelphia, they've been outscored 130 to 56. Okay, so there's that element to it. Now, the good news is Russell Wilson is 5-0 against the Eagles. The problem is he's going against the #1 total defense, #2 in passing defense, #2 in scoring defense. So there's that component to it. And I thought, well, let me see how he did against Vic Fangio. So if we can bring that up, and remember, I did this with Lamar Jackson. Lamar had smoked Vic Fangio, and then Vic Fangio came out and shut down Lamar. Unfortunately, it's not as good for Russell Wilson. Okay, his passer rating is about 10 points lower typically, but to me, it's more the TD to turnover ratio, which is extremely high for a guy like Russell Wilson. So there's a lot riding on this game.
Yes.
You've had success, but now you're facing a really challenging defense, and you're facing a coordinator that you've had some problems with.
Good addition.
Okay, not a good addition. That makes no sense. Russell Wilson has done nothing throughout this season so far to be under duress. In fact, he has deserved nothing but the benefit of the doubt for any negative thing that could arise, or bad outing, bad game, or whatnot. He has absolutely positively elevated the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were in the floor offensively, and he's now brought them to, significantly higher altitudes. So that's insane. Also, I would love to know what Steelers fans think about this. Like, do you really care about that streak against the Eagles? I mean, I understand it's both Pennsylvania, but to my knowledge, it doesn't really feel that the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles really care that much about one another. Honestly, there's not this like huge rival that like everyone knows if you're in Philly, you hate the Steelers, and everyone in Steelers hates the hates the Eagles. Like, don't think so. The Steelers care more about the Ravens and the Bengals and the Browns, and the Eagles care a lot more about the Cowboys and the Giants and the Commanders. Like, it just doesn't really seem to be like a real thing. And I'm sure if they're gonna play each other, they'll make a thing about it. I get it, but like, let's not act like there's like this truly deeply rooted historical context. And I know the real football heads are going to be like, well, that's not true. Do you know what happened in the 80s and the 90s? And I just mean, like, in the last 10, 15, 20 years, I just like, what really major iconic moments do you remember when Ben Roethlisberger went head to head with so-and-so against the Eagles? Like, it's just not a thing, not to my knowledge. And so like, they haven't won in Philly in a million years, and it's like, I don't think it's because there's anything unique about Philly relative to Pittsburgh. It's not like Pittsburgh is this like beautiful, warm, sunny area, and so when they go to Philly, it's like dark and cold and snowy. Like, it's just, it's probably a bus. I wonder if they'll take a plane or a bus ride. I don't know, honestly. I don't know. I don't know. I don't get the intensity of the moment. I think this game matters to both teams, because the Eagles are fighting for the 1 seed. The Steelers are, and they aren't. They need some luck, obviously, from some of these other teams to lose, but they're still right there. But at the minimum, they're still competing for the number 2 seed, which has legitimate implications from who you're going to play for, who you're going to play against in the playoffs. But the reality is like, the Steelers can lose this game because the Eagles are a top team, and the Eagles can lose this game and because the Steelers are a top team. And I just don't expect any team to have to win or play great in a singular game during the regular season like this. I just don't. Of course, you want to see Russ and the Steelers play well and play great, and of course you want to see them win. But like, I just don't see why this extra pressure is on Russ to like elevate. That's where it kind of loses me, honestly, especially if you're talking about going up against this number 1 defense. It just or top defense in the NFL. I'm just not seeing it. And again, comparing it to Vic Fangio and that record, like, he invalidated his own argument when he's like, yeah, we did the same thing for Lamar, where we saw Lamar like absolutely owns Fangio, but then Fangio was able to say, not today. So it kind of shows you, well, maybe using someone's record when they're with a completely different team with completely different roster and players and years later, like maybe comparing it doesn't really matter. So maybe Russell Wilson versus the Philadelphia Eagles, his historical context, like, doesn't really matter because you're talking about games against with the Seattle Seahawks and like with a completely different team and a coach and just different everything, playing a completely different Philadelphia Eagles team. And what quarterbacks was he facing? Was he facing Nick Foles, Carson Wentz? Like, it's just Jim Schwartz. Like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. It's just completely different. So looking at that historical record also means absolutely nothing to me. Truly, it's just kind of nonsensical to me. I don't even know if it's really even worth bringing up. I mean, technically, just for the sake of discussion and interest, but like, I don't know. No, honestly, looking at those cold stats with no context is always gonna kind of fall on deaf ears and blind eyes for me personally. But this is still going to be a pretty cool game. I'm excited for this game mainly because of what a win or a loss means for both these teams. Not to mention, I think both these teams are top teams. So just seeing how they fare against one another, I think is going to be pretty cool to see. Because if the Steelers win this game, they should feel great. They should absolutely feel great. Unless it's like a clear disaster offensively for the Eagles, where it was like, oh my God, Jalen Hurts really tried to feed the ball to A.J. Brown, and now he threw 3 interceptions, right? Like, outside of something that the Eagles just completely do out of character or are starting to clearly, like, unravel, A.J. Brown's fighting on the sideline and stuff like that, outside of something where it's clear the Eagles are hurting themselves, but if you get still, like, do what the Eagles have been doing, and the Steelers come away with a win, that is an awesome massive victory for the Steelers. Like I've said in previous videos, my fear is with the Steelers is that they're going to use a game like this as a if they do lose, as a I told you so. The Steelers aren't that good, and it's like, well, you can't put it in that way. That's like if the Chiefs when losing to the Bills, it's like, see, I told you they're not that good, right? Like you can't paint that picture. But I'm waiting for a part of me, and I'm not saying I want the Steelers to lose, so just follow what I'm saying. But a part of me wants them to lose so we can see all those takes and be like, we knew this was coming, we knew that was gonna happen, right? We got that right. But it'll also equally be fun to see the Steelers win and see them try to explain it, because then they're going to also now be like, are the Steelers for real? Is it time to take the Steelers more seriously? And it's going to be like, it was always time to take them seriously. So no matter the outcome, I already know any of the content that's created around the Steelers is going to be just entertaining, honestly. So either way, I'm all for it. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Russell Wilson being under duress for the Pittsburgh Steelers? How he must end this ludicrous drought. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.